Napoleon begins with the beheading of Marie Antoinette, which the young, ambitious Corsican captain Napoleon Bonaparte watches uncaringly, almost as if she was simply a disposable obstacle for him to overcome in his quest for power. In just a few years, Napoleon rose in the ranks to general. In 15 years, he's the Emperor of France. It doesn't take long before Napoleon is seen as Francis Caesar, who has the potential to conquer the world. In the nearly 50 years that Scott has been directing feature-length films, few of his films, if any, have had quite the level of size and ambition that Napoleon has. Scott starts out small, showing an early battle from Napoleon, then a captain, as there's a very clear fear and a dedication to prove himself. Yet his genius on the battlefield can't be understated. Even when trying to take a port from the British, we can see why Napoleon rose up the ranks. Scott shows us Napoleon's major battles, and in doing so, we see his cleverness at work as he utilizes a frozen river to take out his enemies at Austerlitz, right down to his miscalculation at Waterloo. As we've seen in previous films from Scott, he never undersells the brutality of the period and the horrific reality of these situations. Antoinette's beheading is unnerving right at the start, and the battle scenes are just as horrendous as they need to be. Cannonballs and bullets take out entire human beings, impale horses, and leave people scattered in blood and limbs. It's also just fascinating to watch a master auteur like Scott direct a story of this magnitude and do so seemingly with ease. But this is all material that is covered in history books, and while it's tremendous to see Scott bring the battles and the brilliance of Napoleon to life, the most bombastic scenes Scott and screenwriter David Scarpa present come from the moments at home between Napoleon and his wife, Empress Josephine, played by Vanessa Kirby. The relationship can quickly shift from unending love and devotion to betrayal and disappointment, and watching how badly they need each other speaks volumes about who these two people were. This dynamic certainly wouldn't work without Phoenix and Kirby, who are both exceptional in their personal battles. Phoenix has excelled at playing unpredictable characters, which makes him a perfect fit to take on Napoleon. Scott has said that he was inspired by Phoenix's performance in Joker for this role, which reunites the two for the first time since Gladiator, and it's easy to see why that performance in particular left an impression on Scott. Phoenix's Napoleon is completely lacking any self-awareness, a character who will easily present the faults in others while ignoring his own issues. But Phoenix makes Napoleon work as a character by presenting him as essentially a big baby. He may be unparalleled on the battlefield, but he's also the type of character who is led to have sex by his mother and will argue with his wife at a dinner party. Napoleon is the type of role that Phoenix thrives in, and the match of subject and actor couldn't be more perfect. Yet in the relationship between Napoleon and Empress Josephine, the latter holds all the power, and Kirby is equally great at showing her strength. Kirby's Josephine is a character that Napoleon can't take his eyes off of, and the same is true for the audience. As Josephine wraps Napoleon around her finger, she can make him abandon his soldiers in Egypt because of an affair, and can completely cause him to break down at the end of his life. Kirby's command of each scene is fantastic, putting Napoleon in place when he needs to be, but also showing humanity and love that he clearly needs to get by. This combination of the personal and the massive battles works quite well because of Scarpa's screenplay. He manages to hit all the obvious notes that this story needs to cover while imbuing them with the internal life of Napoleon that truly guides him. Napoleon covers almost 30 years in Napoleon's life, and this screenplay manages to never feel like it's cramming too much into 2.5 hours, nor does it seem like a rundown of Napoleon's career. Scarpa's script, along with Phoenix and Kirby's excellent performances, makes Napoleon engrossing, frequently hilarious, and a strong compression of this towering person's life. Napoleon is a grand film, both in terms of Scott creating a story with a size we've rarely seen from him, and the bold, large choices made by a completely game Phoenix. Between films like Napoleon, The Last Duel, and The Martian, we're still getting peak Scott, and it's hard to watch Napoleon and not think that Phoenix and Kirby are two of the best actors working today. Fascinating to watch this trifecta work together here. Napoleon might have been a notoriously small emperor, but there's nothing minuscule about what Scott is doing with Napoleon. Thanks for watching. Support in cinema by clicking subscribe, like this video, and leave your opinion in the comments section. Bye.